I think we can get started. Do you want to welcome again?
Sure. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Sangha tonight with Trudy Goodman. I want to go over a few logistics. First of all, if you haven't had a chance to say where you're from and how you're doing in a word, if you can, in the chat box, go ahead and do that. Also, I put at the top the link for our Dana donations, so please give generously. There's a few logistics. One is that this event tonight is being recorded. So if you have a question but don't want your face on the video, you can just stop your video and then we can just hear your audio if you have a question. Let's see. Everyone knows, I hope you know how to use the chat box.
Yes, this is not our first meeting, so they're good with that.
Yeah, for some people, if you're new, I usually like to go over it, but so that's where you would do it, in the chat box, make any remarks. Also ask that you have patience for this format, which can sometimes be clunky, so forgive us if it gets a little wobbly at times. That's it for introductory remarks. If there's anything else, anyone can add that.
Thank you, Donna, for being our moderator this evening. And later when we have our conversation together, Donna will be the one who will notice your raised hand and unmute you and all that. And I'm Trudy, as you know, and really happy to be here, also feeling peaceful. I was able to do a lot of more than usual meditation the last 3 days, and it has really definitely made a difference. I was feeling very full, as many of you probably are, from all the Zooming, and it's really good to settle back down. So I'm happy to be here with you tonight. And we begin by doing approximately a half hour of meditation together. And then we'll have our chance to receive some teachings, which I'll offer, and then talk together. And I just wanted to ask you, well, it doesn't even matter. I was gonna say, I wanted to do a little bit of a guided meditation that is based on the book that my cousin, Myra Goodman, wrote, and that we talked about together a couple weeks ago, The Journey of a Holocaust Survivor, From Darkness to Light, The Quest for Eternal Sunshine. Her book just won an award, and this is one of the exercises that her father, who survived 4 years in a Nazi slave labor camp, he devised a lot of exercises, as some of you know, toward the second half of his life to discover happiness and joy, which he had not been experiencing, understandably, from all the trauma of his life. So I want to share one of his meditations during our meditation this evening. So I'll do some guidance at the beginning, and then we'll have some quiet time. So find your comfortable sitting posture. Yeah, and I see that Rebecca lost a dear friend yesterday, and whatever your current state is, whether you're feeling increasingly restless and agitated from being cooped up, whether you're grieving different losses that have happened because of or during this time that you can't really go be with people in the same way that we usually would, whatever it is that's happening, we're going to welcome every bit of it in our meditation. It's all welcome here. We're not trying to get rid of anything. We're willing to be present with all of it. So
thank you, Trudy. Thank you, Trudy.
Yeah. And I'm really sorry for your loss.
Thank you so much.
So just letting your whole body, your whole being relax. Taking a deep breath in and then releasing it. Breathing in the peaceful aliveness of this moment. And then breathing out one more time. Breathing in fully, deeply. Then relaxing, releasing with the calming exhalation. So I'm going to invite you to use your imagination this evening for part of our meditation. And we're doing this not to try to escape or get away from anything that may be difficult that we're feeling right now. We're doing it to show how we can skillfully harness the imagination to help us settle our minds, our hearts, our bodies. So I invite you to imagine standing under a waterfall, cool water, and just letting the running water caress your body, flow down along your skin, cooling, relaxing, caressing. And just feeling it flow from the top of your head, down past your toes, and into the earth. And as you feel this cooling water flowing down from the head, all the way down the body, you can imagine your worries just washing away and flowing down into the earth. You can imagine that the earth absorbs the water and the worries, and that both quench the thirst of any beings that live underground. And you can add a phrase if you feel moved to do so. You can say, "This waterfall is washing away my anger." Whatever anger or resistance I'm feeling is flowing down all the way to my toes, flowing into the earth, where the water and the anger nourish the beings there. Anger is energy, and they can use it. And when you're ready, you can imagine the waterfall washing away your sadness, any grief, loss, sadness, sorrow that may be present in with you can be rinsed away by the cool water as it flows from your head down to your toes and into the earth. The water gives life, and the sorrow is absorbed as the water sinks into the ground. And when you're ready, you can imagine this waterfall flowing and moving all your insecurities, whatever self-doubts may be there, just rinsing them down, down, down to the toes and into the ground. Where the water nourishes all life, and the energy of doubt nourishes the beings who live below the ground. They are glad to receive it. And now let the waterfall wash all your loneliness away. We can be just as lonely living with others as living alone, and sometimes more so. Just letting the water rinse away the loneliness, letting it flow down, cooling the body, and being absorbed into the ground. And now imagine this waterfall washing worries and fears and anxiety, just washing them down from the head all the way down the body to the toes, just letting them flow out the body and into the earth, where the water sustains life and the energy of fear and anxiety and worry nourishes the beings who live underground. And now let the waterfall wash away any guilt you may be holding in your heart. The water is moving in a beautiful current around the heart, just carrying the guilt away down the body and into the ground. If there's any guilt about whatever you've been able to do or not do during this time, just letting it flow away. And just now inviting you to release whatever it is that you may most want this waterfall to carry into the ground. Whatever illusions, delusions, whatever it may be. For now, it's time to go. The beautiful water is flowing from your head down the neck and shoulders and arms and dripping from the fingers, moving down the front and back of the body, the legs, the feet, and just beautifully sinking, being absorbed into the earth. The earth is gently soaking up the water and the energy of whatever it is that is ready to be released right now, just for now. And you can let these soothing waters of self-compassion continue to flow as long as you wish. You can imagine the earth breathing in the water and all that it carries when you breathe in. And then becoming a waterfall, soothing, rinsing, cleansing as you breathe out. Feeling the gentle movement of the breath in the body. Aware of the aliveness of this moment. Fully present right here. Sitting together right now. Fully present with whatever is being experienced in this moment. Receiving the moment and all it contains with this great willingness, great openness of heart and mind. patiently attending to the restlessness, the sadness, the peacefulness, whatever may be happening, however it is, in this mind, this heart, and this body, right now. Just offering some tender patience and kindness during these last minutes of our meditation together. So I am hearing from a lot of people these days that as our challenging situation continues, the restlessness and agitation is beginning to accumulate, shall we say. You know, I spoke last time about this being like a retreat where things come up. I mean, I say this often, but really this time of being at home so much and being separated from each other physically is a time that is just taking, I think, all of us back to some of our earliest conditioning, and stuff is coming up, and it's not easy to be present with it all, not to mention the losses that can be happening during this time, whether it's, you know, the seniors who are losing their proms and graduations and so forth, to the people who are passing away without our being able to go and be with them and say goodbye. All, you know, the whole spectrum of difficulties that are challenging for us. And I think what's also challenging is that we don't know when this will end. There's really no knowing. We have to take it step by step. We just don't know. And so for many people, the unknown is, we fill in what we don't know with our fears. We fill in the blanks with our fears. And, you know, we're going to talk tonight about a different way of being with the situation and being with the unknown. And I'm going to write about it in my little blog this week, so you're getting a sneak preview. A friend sent me this information a while ago, and I want to share it with you. Years ago, the great anthropologist Margaret Mead was asked by a student what she considered to be the first sign of civilization in a culture. And the student expected her to talk about fish hooks or clay pots or grinding stones or tools. But no, what Margaret Mead said was that the first sign of civilization in an ancient culture was a femur, which is a thigh bone, that had been broken and then healed. She explained that in the animal kingdom, if you break your leg, you die. You can't run from danger. You can't get to the river for a drink. You can't hunt for food. And any animal with a broken leg is just meat for prowling, hungry other animals. And so she said, a broken femur that has healed is evidence that someone has taken time to stay with the person who fell, that they have bound up the wound, that they carried the person to safety, and they tended the person through recovery. Helping someone else through difficulty is where civilization starts. And I love this teaching because what I'm seeing, along with the restlessness and anxiety and feeling so many things from so many people, as you are too, what I'm also seeing is all the ways that people are coming together in some way through organizations, it's to help each other and to help take care of each other. The most visible probably being the masks that we're wearing, the staying home that we are doing. I read a quote earlier in this class from a COVID team in Belfast, Ireland, where they were saying, instead of going out and looking at the empty beach and the empty avenues and the empty parking lots and the empty everything and thinking, oh my gosh, this is the end of the world, look out at all of that and appreciate this is the world taking care of each other. This is us protecting each other. It's a reframe, we call that in psychology, but a reframe has to be true in order for it to work. You can't just paste a nice positive interpretation on a yucky experience, like an affirmation, oh, I'm happy when I'm really brokenhearted and sad. That doesn't work. A reframe has to be true. And this is true. We are, if only by our staying home and wearing protective masks when we go out and gloves when we go in the store, if only by doing that, we're taking care of each other. So I find this heartening. And, I was heartened by InsightLA. It wasn't my idea, so I can be proud, I can talk about it. On Giving Tuesday, when all the nonprofits are asking for support, InsightLA announced an offer of support. We decided that the spirit of Giving Tuesday meant we're going to give. And so we started, with the generosity of a donor, we started a community fund. It's small, but I think it will grow, to offer gifts of $200 to people who are experiencing hardship, who might not have enough for groceries or whatever it might be. They're small gifts, but it's something we can do to help out. And if you're really, really hurting for cash, it can mean food. It can mean, it's really important. So this is, this, and something else, our Insight and Action programs have pivoted to online where possible and helping people that way. And we've got, thanks to Akemi and Donna, a group of really dedicated volunteers who are helping do exactly what Donna is doing tonight, moderate the Zoom calls for all these different initiatives. And I guess the one that I know best, so it touches my heart very much, is our work with IACT, which is a small anti-genocide group. I call them small but mighty. And they are committed to working to end genocide and to support refugees, people who have been affected by mass atrocities. And a few years ago, they approached me asking me to come teach mindfulness in a Darfuri camp, refugee camp in Eastern Chad, very close to the border with Sudan and Darfur, not a safe part of the world at all. And I didn't really want to go. And I thought, well, why me? They wanted somebody who was had experience with early childhood education to help them with a program that they've trained the refugees to run for preschool for children in the camp. And I called all my friends who had early childhood plus mindfulness experience, and nobody was able to go. So I wound up going, which gave me a chance to meet the refugees in person and work with the women, the young women that were training to be the preschool teachers, women who've never had a chance to earn a penny or have a job. They've been in that basically open prison camp for 15 years now, pretty much forgotten by the international community. And they're all malnourished, and still they are educating their children as best they can. And what we've been doing with IACT is they don't know anything. They're really isolated. They don't know about the coronavirus. So we've been translating the public health guidelines into 12 different languages and sending them to Africa, to Chad, to Cameroon, to CAR, to Greece, where there's, I don't know how many different languages the refugees there speak, but many. Translating and sending soap and sending these documents. And the refugees are, we got a video showing them unpacking this stuff and reading the documents in their own language. And then one of their leaders, a friend that I consider him, I'm honored to call him my friend, Umda Tarbosh, who is a community leader in the camp that I visited called Gozamir. Umda, he's coordinates with leaders from all the Darfuri refugee camps. There are 11 of them up and down that border with Sudan, and it's basically sub-Saharan desert subsistence living, even for the people who lived there before. Definitely a very austere area. And Umda said, and Umda is somebody who has saved literally thousands of lives of people leaving Darfur, carrying them, walking with them at night, hiding during the day, and leading them to the camps to Chad, which are no picnic, but they're safer than being the targets of a genocide. So Umda sent this message to everybody, and I want to share it with you. He said, we start to see big changes in the community, and I have a hope that the situation is going to be good. Refugees are knowing more in health and hygiene. Yesterday, I was doing mindfulness meditation. And then he talks about a whole dream sequence that he had, and then he sort of came back to being present. He said, I closed my eyes and I started seeing my beloved brothers and sisters, friends and parents around the world that I don't even know names of, dying of COVID-19, and my mind was changed. After a certain moment, I cried so much, and I start my prayer. Yesterday, I didn't eat food, my friends. So I encourage all supporters, donors, refugee camp leaders to all we are doing for our communities. I have a hope together that as one, we will succeed. Thank you all. So to me, this was just such a beautiful example of how we are, all of us in our own ways, in our own spheres of activity, trying to safeguard human life and the possibility of education and a good life for more people, and how we're expressing this compassion for all beings everywhere without exception. And many of you are working with non-human beings, pets and placements of pets and things like that. And I guess I also just want to acknowledge that in the US, this week is called Teacher Appreciation Week. So I want to just offer a shout out of immense gratitude to all teachers. Some of you may be teachers. I'm going to put on gallery view for a moment and ask you, if you're a teacher of any kind, would you raise your hand so I can see how many of you may be a school teacher, you may be a mindfulness teacher, you may be a university teacher, you may be a fitness teacher, whatever it is that you teach, wonderful. Thank you. So we're celebrating you, all of you, this week. And, gratitude is a really powerful antidote to our fear and to our sadness. And I'm not saying that, when you have a fresh grief like Rebecca, that you should just start counting your blessings. No, you need to be sad and let that grief move through you and let yourself feel it fully. And that's actually the best way for it to move through you. But for people who aren't in a very fresh, acute situation like that, to practice gratitude it's really helpful. And you know this already, but to do it with others is also helpful, to do it together. Akemi started something that, is it called Dharma Pals or Dharma Buddies, Donna? Unmute yourself. I can't.
Dharma Pals.
Dharma Pals. Akemi started something called Dharma Pals at InsightLA. I couldn't find it on the website. It must be there, although I did search. I didn't see it. But that's, if you don't have a Dharma Pal, this is a good time to have one, because your Dharma Pal can remind you of springtime, of things that we can be grateful for. Actually, it's moving into summer now, isn't it? The weather's warm. But, oh, Rita just said yesterday was National Nurse Day. Oh my gosh, I think nurses should get a week. I mean, it's great. A day is great, and we're grateful to our nurses, of course, deeply grateful. But I think they should have a whole week for the work that they do as well. Anyway, I'm just speaking about taking care of each other, the activity of compassion, which it doesn't really matter if you're feeling it as a selfless, altruistic act, or whether you're doing it just because you need to feel better. It doesn't matter. And usually it's a mix with us. It's usually a mix of the generosity and altruism and selflessness and the self-interest. And actually that's fine, because the self-interest can keep us going and can keep us motivated when we're not feeling so uplifted or exalted in terms of our altruistic impulses. So this is some of what I want to share with you tonight, and then hoping that this will spark a conversation that we can all have together. I'm also curious about your experience of doing that waterfall meditation. When we're doing awareness practice, we don't often harness the imagination to create special states, like imagining, being under a cool, soothing waterfall that is kindly washing away all the hot, tormenting things that may be bothering us. We usually focus on just what is and how to be with what is. But I also feel when you look at the Brahma Vihara practices, the divine abodes, the practices of loving kindness and compassion and joy and equanimity, these all involve using our imagination, involving different categories of beings and sending love or compassion, or, the imagination can be very useful in our practice. So I'm also curious about your experience with that. So yeah, it's your turn to share. And Donna will call on you. You can raise your hand with, at the bottom of the chat thread, there's a raise hand function, or you can just wave your hand and Donna will look and find you, and then she will unmute you and we can have some Dharma dialogue, some conversation together.
Natalie has a question.
Okay, can you unmute Natalie?
Yeah.
Natalie is unmuted.
I love the waterfall thing, and actually what I was thinking of is letting go of, I know probably most people are not thinking about it, but I'm doing a lot of Zoom dating, and I'm trying to be open about dating on Zoom and to let go of like past past stuff to be more open about dating, which is easier to say than to do.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And first of all, I want to salute your courage for dating online or anytime. I really appreciate your courage to do that. And also your awareness, Natalie, that the experience is colored by memories and that the memories are not all good. And those memories come up when we enter that arena again. And I know this from my own personal experience. I think Zoom is a nice, safe place to begin, actually, because you got to get to know each other a little before leaping into anything else.
I admire you. You got married at age 70.
Thank you.
So it looks like we have a question from Ronnie.
Okay, Ronnie.
Go ahead.
Yeah, it's not really a question. I was just wanted to comment on the waterfall. I thought it was great. And what first came up for me was washing away a personal habit that I've been trying to get rid of for a long time.
That's a good idea. Thank you for that.
But wait a minute. But then I started, that maybe was gone, like in that meditation. And then I started washing away the coronavirus. And I washed it all the way down into, you said into the earth. But when I got to the earth, it died. It broke up because the water broke it all up. And I just started focusing on that and getting rid of the virus, And
do you have COVID?
No, but
just for the world.
And for the world. I mean, just to get rid of it, not for me, thank God. But I thought it was great, and I just want to share that this has been an unbelievable few hours. I started with the Kundalini yoga. Then I did a sound bath that had a lot of, had some visualization to it. And then I went from the sound bath to this, and I am in La La Land right now.
Oh, good. Enjoy.
I mean, this meditation was great. I just loved it.
Thank you. I'm glad it worked for you. Thanks, Ronnie. Donna, I see Jennifer's question. Do you know that the recordings are posted on the website?
Well, our instructions were any recordings would be filed under your name on the website. So I think that's where they're going.
Okay. I've never looked, so I don't know.
Yes.
Okay, thanks. Anybody else want to? Share or ask a question?
I have a question if there is no other question.
Go for it, please.
So I'm wondering about...
Then go to Kristen after you.
Absolutely. So
Great.
I'm wondering about how, I guess when being alone, being solitary, I'm single and live in my house by myself. Sometimes the unification of the world or of these energies that you've spoken about can feel really abstract.
Oh, sure.
And for me, I guess in my practice, I've felt like maybe I've gotten more in touch with refuge. And that's how I get more a concrete idea of the energy towards a better world.
Can you tell us a little? That's beautiful. Can you tell us a little bit about how, just practically, how you get in touch with refuge and how it helps you? Just for a moment, if you're willing.
Sure. So it starts with self-compassion, and I would say that the first few weeks of staying at home required that I acknowledge deep grief about the coming illness and death. And that illness and death is still coming. I still have that. So I was giving myself a lot of space to be a slug, basically.
Yeah, whatever you needed to do.
Yeah. And was taking baths and planting a garden, doing things that were self-care, but that I didn't normally do before. Well, I took baths before, but
Thank you.
Gardening, that's a new thing.
Yeah, I think what you're describing is actually fits with what I was talking about, in the sense that, I was talking about it in terms of relational, like other beings, taking care of each other. But there are many beings that inhabit our own hearts. I know I have like a strong Zen woman who is not my friend. She's always pushing me and driving me, harder. Or I have a tender one who really wants my comfort and happiness. Or, we all have all these different parts that inhabit our own hearts. So I feel like what you were doing intuitively is what we call in Zen practice, saving or freeing all beings. Like you were taking care of all those parts of yourself, by the part that just wanted to be a slug and lie around and pull the covers over her head, and the part that wanted to do something new and creative and plant a garden. Or do you see what I mean? Like that to me is a kind of relational self-compassion. It's with yourself, but we are always in relationship. You are in relationship with the plants that you planted, the seedlings, with your bathtub and the water. But I think to begin to appreciate, when we're alone like that, we actually have a chance to appreciate the aliveness of everything around us. And it may sound abstract, but I promise you, the more you sit, it will become a lived experience. And it's nourishing. And it actually can make you appreciate. I mean, it's too much solitude and it tips into loneliness, of course. But thank you. Yeah.
Looks like we have a question from
Kristen, it looks like, and then Melissa Rosen.
Melissa Rosen.
Okay, Melissa first, then I'll come to you, Kristen. Melissa?
Hi, Trudy.
Hi.
I had just wanted to share that I had a different reaction to the waterfall.
Oh, good. Tell me.
And it was more of like, when you first said it, I was like, oh my God, I don't want to be under the waterfall right now. I just want my own space, my own quiet space. But I found that when I was able to bring in my family with me under the waterfall, I was able to have a different experience. And so it just, for me, it was taking an image that at first felt like it was too la-la for me. It was like, I don't want to be under any waterfall. I just want to be here right now.
Yes.
And so I had a hard time with it at first, but then was able to shift it and have it work for me.
Well, see, that's making the practice your own and being creative and using your imagination to serve what you needed. So I love that. I also want and need to maybe make more explicit that for anybody who doesn't want to try it, just do your own thing, because that's fine too. But it's pretty hard when you hear a voice talking and guiding. But you're free to mute me too.
Okay.
Anytime you're free to mute me. I love that idea of bringing your family in. Thank you.
Thank you.
Looks like we have a question from Kristen.
Yeah, let me just.
Kristen
says, yes, unmute her, and I'll read it while you unmute her.
Sure.
Yeah, I quickly just jotted that down. It's mostly about the feelings of, I've been working so much toward equanimity and holding this very fearful time that we're facing in living in the unknown. And now, as we're cautiously asked to open up, I feel my trust is really shut down. Even in so much as imagining myself hugging dear friends.
Yeah, I can
And
understand that.
so my feeling of wanting to then turn to information to fortify my trust also feels shaken by our lack of political leadership. Canada is, of course, different than the States, but not necessarily in all areas. And our government was also quite slow to act, and we've been given conflicting information on a daily basis. And so I can feel in about a week, we're going to start to open up a little bit more. And the tension I feel around that, I'm having a hard time.
Feeling scared, yeah. So a few things. First of all, I don't know how it's working in Vancouver, but I know that in LA, the mayor has been really clear. We're going to open up a little bit, and we're going to wait 3 to 6 weeks and see what happens before we open up more. So that feels reassuring to me, that it's not just suddenly when everybody's, bursting to get out of the house and mingle, and then we face a second wave of the virus. So that's one thing. If it's a gradual process where people are pausing and then noticing, are there new cases? You won't know for a few weeks. He said, 3 weeks. But I found that reassuring. It made me feel safer. As for the lack of leadership, I probably shouldn't even say this in a class context, but our leadership in America, to me, is now guilty of murder, because they've been so neglectful that many more people are going to die than needed to. And I spoke with an epidemiologist, public health doctor, dear friend, who was on a call with actually Jack. I didn't speak directly to him because I was meditating, but Jack,
Good.
Jack relayed the conversation to me, and he is a dear friend of both of ours. And he was on a call with the director of WHO and the head of the UN, and then doctors from the head, India, from all these different countries, putting their heads together. He was the only one from the US. There was no government representative from the US who was even at the meeting, which is where they share their weekly, whatever the new studies are, because it's a changing situation. Whatever's being discovered, they share with each other and then take back to their countries. And so that part about our leadership, I can only say, help get out the vote to the Americans, because there was put in place. This pandemic was not unexpected. It was completely predictable by public health doctors, and they've been talking about it for years. And the previous administration did put an office in place to handle this when it happened. And our current president dismantled that, so that we are left with a hollowed out CDC. And I don't know how bad it is in Canada, but in America, whoever thought that we would be last, and toward the bottom of countries who are informed and helping the rest of the world, and instead we're pulling out of WHO. It's just, it's unbelievable. It's science fiction.
Yeah.
But you can look to some of the women, Angela Merkel, Jacinta, what's her last name in New Zealand? Yeah, you look at some of the women leaders and some of the wise male leaders. There are people who are being wise and taking good care of their countries, through not just testing, but contact tracing. There's like 5 main things that epidemiologists, they know all this.
Yeah.
People do know. And I'm finding hope for myself in the science, that people do know, that there are dedicated scientists and public health doctors. Another friend of mine who's a public health doctor at Harvard, I said to him, how can you stand it? And he said, we're all burning with rage but we're also trying to support all the public health doctors who are doing their best, you know.
Yeah.
And so there are all of these people who really do know what they're doing,
Yeah.
and working together. And I do believe that the people, us, you know, we will speak and we will turn to them and we will need them.
Yeah.
Because we need guidance and we need science. This isn't going to go away without that. It's just wishful thinking, and maybe people will lie about the numbers or tell lies about this or that. But it's not going to go away. And, you know, if anyone, we do have one medical instance of somebody injecting bleach into patients, and it was a nurse who was convicted of murdering people. She did that. Who knows what, you know, what was going on in her disturbed mind. But so, you know, here we are. And I think this is why it's so important for us all to be talking together and naming our fears, and then taking the next step of, you know, how can we help and what can we do together? So thank you.
Thank you, Kristen. We have a share from Patsy.
Hi, thank you. I wanted to kind of share how I felt about the waterfall meditation, and I loved it. In the beginning, I didn't, because I felt in my mind's eye was seeing this rush of water falling on my head, and I think
Niagara Falls.
Yes, I think there's so many emotions going through my body right now that it was like this just rush of water to kind of get rid of them all. I am living by myself for the first time in about 40 years. So already I was isolated before this started happening. I have been grieving for quite a while, for about 15 months, end of a 26-year relationship.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, my heart goes out to you. That is heartache.
Very difficult divorce because of that. And so this isolation, like I said, it's a new experience for me. And I think, and the rage is there too. The rage on two fronts, the rage from a partner and the rage from the government and what's going on, and rage when I'm in the grocery store and see people that aren't wearing masks too. It's a lot of emotions. So I think this deluge of water that just came down on my head and shoulders was purging. It was really purging all of these emotions and getting them out. And then as it went along, it got gentler. And I think that was sort of the self-care, was
Beautiful.
kind of settling in, and it became more gentle, and it really became healing and soothing then. So I really, it was a very good meditation for me. It just went from an extreme down to another, very healing. So
Well,
thank you.
Thank you for that very mindful of your process. Thank you for that clear description, because it's sort of a beautiful metaphor for what you were going through, that just feeling, you know, like Niagara Falls coming through your life, and then finding a way to just take in what was helpful to you. I know for me, when I was doing it with you, I imagined some rocks with just a little bit of water, like just like a shower in your shower, that amount. So yeah, thank you for that description. And you know what? I mean, it's 7:14 already. I don't know how that can be. Let's just sit together for a minute.
Thank you for doing that meditation. It was wonderful.
I'm glad you enjoyed it. Well, you made it work for you. Everybody is, you know, everybody's mind has the creativity and the power to find its way. Our minds do know how to do this, but not the mind that's constantly obsessed and distracted and thinking, but the mind that's awareness. So yeah, thank you. So at the end of a period of study and practice together, we've listened to teachings, we've meditated, and we've shared in community. At the end of a time like this, we express our gratitude for the great luxury, the great privilege of being able to receive these teachings and put them into practice and support each other as we do this. And so we share the goodness, whatever goodness has come out of this time together. We freely share with all beings everywhere, without exception. May we and all beings contribute to civilization by tending each other, by caring about each other, by staying with each other. May we grow together in our capacity to embody compassion and the wisdom to do this. So thank you, everybody. Donna, now you unmute everybody.
Sure.
And then we can all say hi, goodbye, and I will see you next week.
I just wanted to...
if you have any announcements, sorry.
Yeah, just a few announcements. One is this Sunday is Anti-Racism Practices in the Pandemic, a workshop by
Tim Wise. Yes, very good. He's wonderful.
Anti-racist speakers in the country.
Yeah, wonderful.
Yeah, really great event, and really interesting to hear from him now. Also, Saturday, May 16th, A Mind at Home with Itself with Byron Katie. I love Byron Katie's work, so I thought we would just add that in there, give it a little plug. And also, Trudy, you have a retreat from May 20th to the 26th, and there's the link for that.
This is the only retreat that I am teaching this year because I'm taking time to write. Well, I was going to take time to write. We'll see how that goes now, but that was the plan. So I really do, we are moving the retreat to an online schedule, which will be much less arduous than a full-on residential retreat schedule. And I really want to invite you all to come to that retreat because I'm teaching with my beloved friend who wouldn't be my teacher. He insisted on our teaching together, but I consider him one of my teachers, Anam Thupten, Tibetan Rinpoche, who is just a wonderful teacher, great capacity, and James Baraz, a Spirit Rock teacher. And so I want to encourage you to come to that. And also, you may not know, Donna, but Jack and I are teaching like a worldwide kind of free teaching on Friday morning to express our solidarity with and friendship with the people in China who have went through this first and are still working with it. So it will be, the teachings will have to be translated into Chinese, so you'll need patience if you come to that retreat because you'll be hearing us teach, then you'll be listening to the Chinese translation as well. But that's just 5 hours on Friday. And the retreat that Donna kindly posted the link. The sign up is through Spirit Rock. It's a Spirit Rock retreat. And yeah, please come. Now we can unmute and talk.
Okay.
Oh, and Sunday morning. Come Sunday morning if you want to sitting group also.
There you are.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you everyone for coming.
Great to see you. Wonderful.
Thank you for taking care of yourselves.
Yes. Thank you, everybody.
Stay safe.
Bye. See you soon.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, everybody. Thank you.
Bye. Patsy, did you get my message?
Hey, Patsy, did you say? I don't see it. Oh, I there. Oh, I see it. Yes. Yeah, it's difficult. I was blindsided by the whole thing. So, so here I am, and I'm loving living by myself. Actually, it's wasn't easy at first, but I was sort of transitioning into this isolation that we're doing now. So,
Very good.
but I will survive. The divorce will probably be going on until 2021, but. But I'm surviving. I'm doing really well. So thank you for your comment.
You're welcome. Welcome.
Bye-bye.
Okay, Jim, Mark. Are you here? Bye, Patsy.
Bye-bye.
I'm enjoying being by myself as well.
I am too. I really am. Well,
Bye,
that's
Donna.
good. See you
Bye,
next week.
Thank you so much. Is there anything I need to do?
I think we're on. I
You're
don't
all
know.
set.
I think we're all good as far as I'm concerned.
All right. And are you going to be here next week?
Yes.
Perfect.
Yeah.
I think next week will be the last sort of permutation of Trudy's Thursday evening for a little bit. I think there's going to be a break.
Let me ask you something real quick. I had made a note about what to call this when I put it up on YouTube.
Yes.
My thought was, hold on. Of course, now I don't remember where I put the note.
About waterfalls or imagination and pandemic, or you're trying to come up with a title that is identifiable, or just the date too.
Yeah, well, Kenny suggested that we use. Well, I'm still recording.